RDT stands for remaining dentine thickness. It is a distance from floor of cavity to the pulp. Why it is important? It is the single most important factor that will decide the pulpal status and any likelihood of pulpal injury. In short and simple words, less is the RDT, less is the distance between floor of cavity and pulp, more are the chances of pulpal damage and further pulpal inflammation. So let's understand why this happens. Dentinal tubules in outer dentine, which is towards enamel, are less in number, smaller in diameter, so they have less permeability for any bacteria, toxins, or any irritants. But as we progress downward towards the pulp, here the dentinal tubules are larger in diameter, they're more in number, and therefore they're highly permeable to all sort of toxins. So, in simple words, deep cavities, those in inner dentine, will cause more damage to pulp. And this is the reason we need to protect pulp in such cavities, and that's why we use bases and liner. Now, let's understand at what remaining dentine thickness we need to use base and liner. With remaining dentine thickness of more than 2 mm, you do not really need liner and base as the pulpal reaction is negligible to none here. With remaining dentine thickness between 1 to 2 mm, there is slight increase in tubule number and diameter. There can be mild pulpal reaction, but again, liner and base are not mandatory because there is sufficient dentine left to protect pulp. When remaining dentine thickness is between 0.5 to 1 mm, dentinal tubules are more in number, wider, and highly permeable. Pulpal reaction here can be moderate provided it is protected by liner and base. And finally, if remaining dentine thickness is less than 0.5 mm, pulp is at severe risk of irreversible damage. So liner and base are must here. So, how do we assess the remaining dentine thickness clinically? After all, we don't have a caliper in our eyes, right? So, in clinical practice, we assess remaining dentine by observing both its color and texture. At the surface, dentine is often lighter, more yellowish, and harder. And as we go deeper, it tends to become darker, more translucent, and softer. These changes in color and firmness help us gauge how close we are to the pulp. Apart from that, there is also an instrument called as prepometer, which can help us assess the remaining dentine thickness more precisely. So, between visual cues like color and texture and tools like the prepometer, we can get a good idea of how much dentine remains. Another method is radiographic approach, though it does come with a limitation since it is in 2D and there can be radiographic errors or even distortions, making it less precise. But it still gives us a broader overview of dentine thickness. So remember, no single method is perfect. In practice, you combine everything your visual judgment of dentine's appearance, tactile feedback like probing firmness, and radiographs. It's really about using all the clues together for the most accurate picture of what's going on inside the tooth.